There are no secrets to success, just things you haven't learned yet. And once you learn them, it's up to you to apply them. I'm Jamaal, aka Boss Eagle, Billboard-charting hip-hop artist and music business coach. Join me as we talk digital marketing, social media, technology, and more, and share interviews with industry professionals to help you unlock the secrets and take control of your music career. Because we are the new music business, and this is the Indie Musician Secrets Podcast.
What's up, and welcome to the Indie Musician Secrets Podcast. I am your host, Jamaal, aka Boss Eagle, Billboard-charting hip-hop artist and music business coach at Business Minded Musicians. And I want to welcome you to today's episode 25, where we will be talking about how to build your fan base online with these 5 direct-to-fan tools. But before we jump into that, I want to just say thank you for listening wherever you're listening from, and to remind you that you can download, rate, review the podcast wherever you are. That would be so helpful, especially if you're on like Apple Podcasts or something like that. If you could leave a rating and review, that would be great in terms of helping us push the podcast forward. So, like I said, without further ado, we're going to jump into today's topic, which is we're going to be looking at 5 direct-to-fan tools to help you build your fan base online. If you're listening to this podcast, you're more than likely an artist like myself. Building your fan base online is a priority for you. If it's not, then it should be a priority for you. And we're going to be talking about some ways to do that using a blog post on the Bandzoogle website. So thank you to Bandzoogle and Melanie Kealey for this awesome article. I will leave a link in the description or the show notes wherever you are listening to this so that you can review the full article at your own leisure. But we're going to go through and talk about briefly those 5 of these direct to fan tools to build your fan base online. When we're going through these 5 different points, make sure that you keep in mind that ideally what we'd like to do is to start with your website, right? We want your website to be the hub through which either your fans can access these things directly, or it kind of directs them to those things, maybe if they live on another platform. But keep that in mind as we go through these, that we want to use that website, your music website, as your hub, okay? The first of the 5 direct to fan tools to build your fan base online is a newsletter. And I would probably also say newsletter / email list. So the newsletter is really just the piece of content, but really what we're looking at here is actually the email list, using an email list, right? Email is the best way to keep in touch with your fans. Social media comes and goes. And yes, we've had some that have stuck around longer than others. But again, think about MySpace, think about Vine, think about some of those social media channels that have come and gone. And we don't want to build our fan base on a social media platform, because at any moment, at any time, on any day, they could pull the plug on one of those and you would lose all of that. So make sure that you're bringing people into your world. And the best way to do that is through an email list. You can use your website for people to sign up. You can offer freebies or different promotions, something to incentivize them to join your email list. I see so many websites where it says, enter your email here to sign up for our email list. It's like, okay, well, that's great. But how about you offer them something? Give them a reason to want to give you that email. According to the article, you can nurture that list over time, even just starting with a simple thank you email. Thank you for your support. Thank you for following me. I think freebies, again, are always good, and especially things that don't cost you much, like a digital download or a lyric poster or something like that. And remember that with email, you own the traffic. So you can communicate as much or as little as you want with your fans. You can decide or ask them how often they want to hear from you, or you can set that expectation from the beginning. So I think that's a great way to start those emails off, is to say, hey, this is what you can expect from me, how often. Remind people always that they can unsubscribe at any time, because you definitely want to make sure that you have the right people on that list, especially if and when you start paying for your email service. Personally, I like ActiveCampaign. That's what I use. So I'll leave a link in the description for ActiveCampaign if you want to check them out. But there are several great options for email services. All right, next up, the article talks about using a blog or a podcast as a direct to fan tool to build your fan base online. They suggest that maybe you start small with blogging, maybe just a few posts about a song or a video, etc. But to think about your blog post as more of an in depth social media post. So it kind of takes what you would do on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, etc., and kind of adds a little bit more to it, gets more in depth because you can actually add more, you can create more, you can give more. If possible, I would say make sure you can add the blog to your website. They talk about making sure there's no, ads or different things to distract them away from that, especially because that content we want to be really, really, really engaging. So make sure that blog is on your website. And if you start a podcast, they suggest maybe starting a podcast with your band. Tell stories from your touring about recording. People love stories. And I think that's just a great way to document your story as well. And you've got that out there. And you can always take that content and do several other things with it too. And so as far as with blogging, podcasting, I just wanted to throw in a couple of other things for you to think about. One is to consider vlogging, which is the same thing as blogging, just with a V, and it uses video instead of typing. So video is sometimes easier to create than writing blog posts. Sometimes we don't want to sit down and just like write out a blog post, but if you just pull out your phone and you just start recording what you're doing and having that vlog, that may be an easier route to go. With that, you can also transcribe that audio, right? So use a voice transcribing tool like Otter. That's what I use, otter.ai. And then that way you can talk to type your blogs. So even if you do want to blog, sometimes it's just faster and it's easier. Our brains move a little bit faster when we can just speak things out instead of typing it. So consider using that as well. And then you can edit it and then post those as your blog posts. And then lastly, consider multi-purposing. So you think about video recording your podcast, for example, right? And then upload the video to YouTube, to your socials in, small pieces, etc. And then take the audio and use the audio file as the podcast piece. That way you can get more kind of out of your content. Next up, number 3 is to sell custom merch. And this is right up my alley. I love merch. I love e-commerce. Some of you may know that I do have another brand called Merch Tower as well, which is a merchandise and marketing agency. I'll leave a link in the description if you want to check that out as well. But merch is one of the best ways to make money, especially, just having an online store on your website. You can ask fans what kind of stuff they like. And especially if you just create mock-ups or get images of stuff, you can post those on socials or through your emails, kind of get feedback and then offer it, depending on what people like or what colors they like and that type of thing. One of the things I think is so great about merch is that, and especially in this digital age where we can use so many tools to promote our music worldwide, shipping worldwide has probably never been easier, probably thanks a lot in part to Amazon, right? As far as e-commerce goes, right? We've had the mail services for a long time, like, the United States Postal Service and FedEx and DHL and all that. But as far as on the retail side, shipping is so much easier than ever. Maybe you're promoting your music and marketing on another side of the world that you've never been to or you want to get to one day, but you have a fan base, and it can be a great opportunity because again, shipping is a lot simpler now. We can ship stuff, we can ship merchandise to our fans in other places as well. Some of the things also to think about in terms of merch, it doesn't always have to be the hats, hoodies, t-shirts, etc. You can also offer lyric booklets, sheet music, artwork. And then one other point that I'll leave with on this one is consider using on-demand drop shipping to make the process painless. I'll leave a link to a company called Printful. They kind of handle all of the aspects of that once someone orders from your site too. So think about selling custom merch as one of those direct-to-fan ways to build your fan base online. Number 4, workshops and lessons. Workshops and lessons are a great way to engage your fans on a personal level, according to the article. This is where you can take your specialty basically and teach it to other people. I love the idea of creating a course. I have my first course is called Fanbase Growth Accelerator, and I plan on creating more courses as well. And this can be a great option for those of you out there who are gifted in, the piano or guitar or whatever. You can easily create something, even like a guitar for beginners or something like that, and teach people, what you do. Teach people your specialty. You can also consider doing them live. Whether you want to do live lessons on Zoom or Skype. You can do them one-on-one, or you can have group lessons as well, and you can maybe charge a little bit less, so it's more affordable for people if they're in a group lesson, and then maybe a little bit more for one-on-one. Some of the workshop ideas that the article provides are things like creative writing, children's music, music history. If that's your jam, you can help those people. And again, this is a digital space, so you could do that, worldwide, as long as the time zones work. That's where it's going to get a little bit different, versus a course versus a live type of thing, but it's still possible. And if you do decide to host your course, think about putting it on a platform like Thinkific or Teachable or something like that. A lot of times, web hosting platforms don't have necessarily a login area. So if your current website doesn't have that ability, don't fret. You can always use one of those other services, like I said, like Thinkific or Teachable or something, where you can actually have your courses live there. And you just kind of point people to that through your website. Again, that's kind of how we use that website as a hub to redirect someone. All right, and the last option that the article talks about as a direct-to-fan tool to build your fan base online is through subscriptions. So this would be kind of like, your Patreon. Something to consider is that it is the most time and labor intensive of all of these. But as the article mentions, it can also be the most rewarding. So that's just something to think about, is that you will be putting a lot of time and attention and effort into this. But you can create, all different kinds of levels and tiers with different perks and stuff. You can also use fan subscriptions to leverage the other tools, like using your fan subscription to then promote your merch or to share your podcast. The article also talks about having things like subscriber only discounts. So it kind of creates that exclusivity. One of the things that I would probably stress again is to consider whether or not you can give the time and attention required to a fan subscription. Because if you promise those different levels and that access to you based on how much they are investing, then you need to deliver on that, because these people are allowing their credit card or bank account or whatever to get hit every month for access to what it is that you're doing. And according to the article, if this does seem kind of daunting to start a fan subscription, you can always start with one tier. You can always do it real simple, start with one level, and then build out from there. So your action item for today is to choose one of these tools. And I would even say, to go a step further, is then to focus on one aspect of one of these tools. So for example, if you're going to do a podcast, right, it might be something as simple as choosing the platform that you want to be on. Writing down your first couple ideas for content, maybe your first 5 episodes or something. For me, one of the things that I might focus on is actually going back to the merch, is the whole lyric booklet thing. And the reason I may do that is because I already have high quality photos from photo shoots, and I already have my lyrics from previous works. And so I may consider doing that. It might be a cool thing to add to my store. So we'll see. But focus on one tool and one aspect and get going on that. All right, if you have any questions or if there's a topic that you'd like to have discussed on the podcast, feel free to email me at questions@indiemusiciansecrets.com. I'll also leave links to some of the things that we talked about in the description or in the show notes, wherever you're listening, so you can check that out as well. And please, 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 as always, feel free to share this episode and any episode of the Indie Musician Secrets podcast with anyone that you think it would be beneficial for. All right. So thank you very much. Go do your action item. God bless. And I'll see you when I see you. Peace.
Thank you for listening. Don't forget to follow the Indie Musician Secrets podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen, and make sure to leave us a rating and review. Also, share this episode with other indie musicians you think it would be beneficial for. And for more helpful resources to help you grow your music business, visit us at businessmindedmusicians.com. I hope this episode has served you. We'll talk to you on the next episode.